Hi everyone, welcome back to the TradeInformer podcast. Today I'm joined by Greg Rubin. Greg is the head of Axi Select, and I feel like this is our biannual catch-up where we talk through talk through everything that's happening at Axi Select. So Greg, good to see you. To kick things off, right? I think you've hit a sort of few milestones since we last talked. One of those is sort of the 2-year mark. I think Axi Select is, I guess, it's more of an unusual model in the industry. I think there's probably really one of the maybe the only company actually offering the prop model the way that you've structured it. So yeah, I mean, how are things going so far? Are you happy with that? How everything is progressing?
Yes, hi David. Firstly, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Um, yeah, we really happy with where we are right now. To reference what you said, we did set up purposefully with a different model, a model that we believe is more around finding good traders and supporting traders as opposed to more on the sort of speculation side. And we've had almost 44,000 clients on our program right now. So we've been very well received in the market, and we continue to improve on our product offering and continue to see stories and results from traders, which is always promising. It's always great to see how the program has been received, and how we're actually changing people's lives in the sense of stories of traders who have trading with $1 million of our funds. um, there's stories of traders who have put down mortgages on a house, 22-year-olds managing $1 million. So we got some really good stories, and we're super proud of where we're at right now.
No, awesome. And from my point of view, I think one of the things that's interesting about this model, particularly for people that have opened it as a brokerage, right? I think a lot of brokers have moved into the sector with, they're basically very accustomed to um, running the broker model, and I think the prop model can be a bit different. Obviously, the Axi Select one makes, say, like managing risk quite a bit easier from your end. But I'm curious if there are any unusual things that have happened or any things that sort of have surprised you in terms of maybe the type of person that's got through, or sort of the quality of the strategies, or just really anything that you didn't really expect about maybe like the trading activity when you launched the product.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few differences in the space. You referenced the broker market and you referenced the prop firm market, and Axi Select is purposefully supposed to be this product that is beneficial for traders who trade with prop firms, as well as for traders who trade at brokers. So we kind of sit in the middle, and you can see the advantages on both sides. And we get prop firm traders who would normally trade at other prop firms. And we're also getting more recently as well a big uptick in traders who are trading at brokers, just because of the way it is structured. So we see all sorts of flow, all sorts of characters, types of styles, whether it's even manual trading, whether it's the use of EAs. And geographically, it's been pretty well picked up really across the globe. So, what surprised me is maybe the use of EAs. I don't know why that should surprise me, but it's, with technology being quite important, more people moving towards it, it seems that there's just more and more traders who are now using EAs. And we one of the possibly because we're one of the few firms who actually allow EAs. If you want to talk about us in the prop firm space, but we do see a lot of traders using EAs, and the sophistication in terms of that. It's really good to see in terms of how trading has sort of moved the landscape of trading, how much it's moved in the last couple of years, really.
Are those people out of interest making their own ones, or are they? Do you have to sort of stop people who are just like buying off the shelf strategies?
Absolutely. So we actually don't allow copy trading on our program. So we don't allow traders to use other people's EAs. But if they have bought it from someone who's not on the program, then I guess we won't know. But if we do see, and it does crop up from, I say not infrequently, but it does pop up, that we do see traders who might be unaware of this, and we do have to provide warnings. We've got quite sophistication tools in place to identify copy trading, match trading, which we do see naturally, um, as well as a few other things that traders do to abuse the system. To your point at the beginning, risk management is so important for a trader, but I would say even more important for a broker offering the model that we offer. Unfortunately, you do get bad actors in all spaces, but certainly in the prop firm world.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think last time we spoke, this product it was definitely available in a lot of places, and I think you said it was particularly popular in Latin America, where Axi as a whole I think is quite big. Are there plans to expand it to other regions at the moment, or are you just going to keep it as is?
So, due to our product being a real life account, we don't. There's certain regions where there's certain regulations where Axi Select can't operate in, not by choice, but naturally, it's offering $1 million and a free program to join is an incentive. Um, so because it's not a demo account, we are restricted to certain regions. But what I will say since we last spoke is Asia's really taken off. China is one of our biggest markets right now. We're seeing a lot of business coming from China, a lot of love for Axi Select coming from China. LATAM remains strong as well. Africa, to be honest, is a region I think we could do more in, and is something that we are looking at. But for now, the uptick has been from LATAM, and I'd say a bit more in Asia recently.
And do you have to? I mean, do people understand the proposition they're offering? Maybe that's a silly question, right? But to give a different example, I had lunch with someone who runs actually a prop firm. Uh, when was it? About a week ago, and they was basically saying that sometimes it can be quite difficult in some regions for people to actually just get what they're on about, because people are very, I think people are very accustomed to um, the brokerage model because it's been around for ages, but prop is something a bit more niche, and it can, even though the concept I think is actually really good, it can just be a bit, I think people may struggle to understand what you're actually offering. Has that been a problem, or do people just kind of instantly go, oh yeah, I got it?
It's a great question, especially with our model being different to the rest of the industry. And I think that sort of takes me on to where we're heading right now. When we launched on the 4th of September 23, it was 3 days after the MFF news broke, and the sort of industry changed forever off the back of that. And because we came with an alternative model, a more trader centric model in the space, we were perceived as a different, for a majority of, I guess, a different type of prop firm, which is not what the intention was. We're not just about giving funding. As you know, education is a pillar of our program, as well as helping traders, improving traders, and being the sort of all-encompassing trading program. So we were kind of pigeonholed as a prop firm due to what was going in the space, whereas right now we're trying to spend more time explaining the nuts and bolts of our program and why it makes sense for traders and brokers. And that's where we're seeing a lot of our business starting to come from now, because the way it's set up is quite simply a real life trading account like you get at a broker, with our funds that we put up an account that trades in parallel. So from a trader's perspective, all you're doing is you're trading your standard broker account, and come the end of the month, depending on what stage you're at, you'll be entitled to a profit share that gets automatically sent to your trading account. So from a trader to broker, you're literally doing nothing else but trading your broker account, and then you get the funds that come with it. And that's besides the dashboard, the edge score, explainers, the trading room, the weekly webinars that we do, besides the education and the learning part of it. So it's something that's starting to resonate in the market as we sort of, I won't say rebranding, but as soon as our image is changing from this prop firm to, hang on a second, if I'm trading at a broker, I don't need to look at this account if I don't want to. I can just see at the end of the month what I'm owed, and you can always see the figure, but it's different in the sense that you're trading a real life broker account as opposed to the prop firm model, where you've got all these restrictions and you've got an account that's demo, and you could have a spike in the market and you hit the daily drawdown limit and all your years of work is gone, even though you might be up a certain amount of percentage. You're always on edge in that sense, and you can't really trade. Whereas with the Axi Select program, it's literally a broker account that you could trade how you choose to trade, and then you get the benefits. And I think that is starting to resonate in the broker space right now, and that's something we're certainly putting more time and attention into.
Yeah. And out of interest, do you get any people sort of moving over from other prop firms because of that? Because I think something you alluded to, right, is I guess psychology for I feel like trader psychology is a bit of a hackneyed topic, but it is also a real thing. I like to give an example. Um, I went to there was a prop expo in London, the first one about 2 weeks ago, and I think one of the interesting things there, and it's something I've heard before, is that if you are on a regular prop and you move from the sort of initial an evaluation phase or whatever you want to call it to a funded account, the behavior can actually change quite a lot because suddenly I think what happens is someone goes, oh, uh, you know, I'm not going to swear, but they go, oh man, damn, I'm suddenly like I'm in a live account and I have whatever it is, 200 grand. This is amazing. And, I think that that apparently plays to people's emotions quite a lot. Um, I mean, I guess you're not in a position to compare how you guys do with someone else because you only have this real offering. But I guess my question would be one, do you get people switching over from regular props because they like the fact that it's just a brokerage account? And two, do you see those sort of psychological factors at play? I mean, if someone gets, for example, an allocation on Axi Select, do they start? I don't know if they're trading quite well. Do they suddenly start freaking out and going, "Oh man," and behaving in a way that then ends up with them losing money?
Yeah, I mean, just to answer the first part, or to start with the first part, we get significant amount of our traders to switch from other prop firms, and that was sort of the main market up until recently. And the feedback is always the same. It's a sense that we are a trading program. And I think where the standard model, look, there's definitely a market for the standard model, but where I think it's failed is to actually be allow traders to trade the way they would normally trade. And what I mean by that is things like the daily drawdown limit. Some firms have a 4% daily drawdown limit, for example, and you could get, like you saw in the crypto market, you could be long some of those cryptos, like we saw on Friday, and that slippage, you could be up 5,000% on your account, but you lose it all if just one event like that happens. And then you've got, ultimately profit is made from account from not passing. And then you look at those trading conditions, they're very, very difficult. So if you want to speculate, you want to take a punt and you want to have throw Hail Marys to try to get big accounts, then there's a huge market for that. And there's some great programs out there. But what we've found is real traders, they've looked at these programs and they've been caught by maybe a spike or a news event or something that's caused volatility, and they've lost an account, they've received a hard breach emails, and there's sort of a realization that our program is built for traders. So if you a trader and you want to forge long-term careers and ultimately manage money in the correct manner, then we believe our program is significantly superior in that space. And that's not from me. You can see all the sort of testimonials of our clients who have traded at many prop firms will tell you that. So it does take a change. And I guess my frustration I get is, why does your program take a bit longer? Or why do we have to spend 20 days at this stage or get a score of that? Why can't I just get access to this money if I quite quickly? And my answer is always the same. We got the sales guys goes, well, great, can't we remove this? Can't we make it quicker? And I'm like, well, if we're generally giving you $200,000 to $1 million of our money, we need to see that you can trade. So when you look at firms who are actually giving $200,000 after 2 weeks of trading or one lucky trade on a given day, you can then get access to that money. You've got to ask yourself what's more is there to that. So absolutely, we do see a lot of that. In terms of the psychology, yes, I was speaking recently to a couple of our $1 million traders, and there are very few retail traders who are used to trading $1 million account. And even with the size, we naturally send that to the market. So you get, sometimes if you're doing huge position size, you can see different fill prices. And that's something we've had to explain. That this, you trade the real market. When you buy $23 million of gold at a certain price in an illiquid market, you are going to see a little bit of slippage just per se. I must say our execution is great. That's something that even as a trader, as you know, I've been very, very impressed with the way that our execution has been set up to handle these sort of big sizes, but naturally it is the real market. You're not going to always get the exact price. You're not always going to get the exact same trading conditions as you get on a demo account. So a lot of these traders aren't, used to having real life trading conditions. That is something that can play on the psychology of traders, especially when you get to the larger sums of money. But naturally, again, if you are trading such size, you are going to it is going to affect you in some way. Now, what can we do to try and limit that to some degree? It's two different accounts. The trader can have $20,000 in their Axi Select account if they want to, and just trade that and not even look at the $1 million that's trading parallel to that in the size. I'm not saying you should do that, but you can do that if you want to isolate it, and you can just say, well, I'm trading a $20,000 account. I'll make what I make, and the $1 million trading separately. And that's purposefully done like that, as opposed to, well, here's a $1 million account and I'll go trade that. It's going to cause a lot more anxiety or a lot more, it's going to mess with psychology more. But absolutely, we have seen traders who get to $500,000, they go back to the 200,000, and we get 3 attempts at our program. So if you lose 10% of 500,000, you then go back to the $200,000 stage. And some of the stories we hear from the traders is sometimes it took them 2 times, sometimes on their 3rd attempt before they reach such stages. And that's, to your point of the psychology, it's difficult to manage larger sums.
Yeah, on that point, actually, I mean, so this is something that I've spoken to. I remember speaking to someone who manages actually quite a big copy trading account, so not really the same at one of your competitors. And one of the things that actually surprised them, they were very successful basically in terms of growing the amount they had on the copy. Um, but obviously, when they started, right, it was just literally their own money, and they found that as they were getting bigger and bigger, and then they were like kept trying to place trades, and then I think they had something like 50 million behind them at one point. So they're clicking buy, and then suddenly none of their, copiers are getting filled, and it was like completely messing up. Yeah, exactly. So, like, actually, that's a sort of good follow up question, I think, which is, first of all, I think your max allocation is at the moment 1 million, which I actually think is sort of testament to the model, right? I think there's very few other people offering account sizes, and I think it is because of this sort of demo account model makes it very difficult to do that. There's maybe one other that I'm aware of where I'm very skeptical of what they're actually doing behind the scenes. Um, would you ever increase that amount? And secondly, like, is that a problem that you see where, if you have someone who's a really good trader and they're trading, I don't know, a 10K account because that's the amount they've put in, and if they're trying to scale, they just hit a point where the strategy stops working or something like that. If you do give them $1 million.
Yeah, so there's no immediate plans to increase that $1 million amount, but there is something that we have in the works at the moment, or what else we can do for pro M traders to make it a long term career. So we've got some really cool stuff that we busy planning, should I say, what else we can do, which will be on top of the $1 million that they get to trade, but it won't be on a funding. It will be more on a wider scale on what else we can do. So perhaps in our next bi-yearly catch up, we can. I'll be able to tell you more on that point. Um, but yeah, it's we've got 5 traders currently trading with $1 million of our funds, and it's great to see them profitable as a whole. It's good to see them making money in the space, and I think there's not many. That's not a comment many other firms can say. To see traders succeeding on our program is certainly one of the points of what we're trying to do is to find top traders, give them a platform to reach these levels, and back them with real money. So it's a great joy to see these traders with $1 million doing well and performing, and long may that continue.
Okay, so apart from this secret plan that you have, which we will discuss next time, are there any sort of other tools or things that you plan on adding to the program? So obviously, funding is the main reason that people are going to sign up, but any other sort of features or I don't know, technology that you think you'll add to the Axi Select program?
So of course, funding, as you say, is a big factor, but I hope for it not to be the only factor when you consider Axi Select as a whole. And we have just launched MT5. That was a very recent launch. Um, we are working on a dashboard, on making our dashboard more interactive and making it providing more stats for traders. So we're trying to spend time on improving that. Our edge score explainers, we're also looking to provide more. We've got a couple ideas on what we're trying to do there to give traders even a um, more transparency with their account, what they can do to improve their edge score, and perhaps look to use AI to really help them with their trading. Um, I'll give you a little exclusive. We are going to launch a sort of mini program for Axi Select, sort of a smaller version um, for certain regions to start. But it is something that, the minimum requirement is $500 for the Axi Select program. And we've had a lot of people from certain regions, a lot of people in the space sort of asking if, from a lower barrier, if we can make a program a lower barrier. So there seems to be a huge demand for that. So that is something that we are working on, that we hope to be launching. Um, our edge score, it's also something we look on how we can make that even more robust. It is something that we're also looking into doing. So, and education, I shouldn't forget that part. It's, we're currently doing weekly webinars. We're looking to do that in more languages. We got a whole library of education. We got professionals in the trading room who are constantly providing analysis and answering questions to assist traders. So we are trying to improve all angles of our program. And yeah, we always take user feedback very seriously. So if any excellent traders are listening to this and you feel you want to provide input, please reach out. We do take it seriously.
On the yeah, I guess new products point, would you add? I mean, I'm actually not sure. I'm in the UK, so the program is not available to me. I've had kind of a look at it and stuff, but would you add new instruments? I saw Axi just launched perpetual futures, which is I think one of definitely the way it's structured is quite unique. Would you add those, or would you add any other assets to trade to the program?
So our offering is pretty large already in terms of, because it's a real life Axie account, the traders have access to all markets. Now, we don't offer perps because at the moment Axie only offers perps to ATP, the proprietary trading app, and Axie Select is not available on that trading platform just yet. We don't offer it on meta quotes. So once Axie Select is available on ATP, they most certainly will be able to trade perps. Um, but in terms of actual instruments, you can trade any account, any instrument at Axie. You can trade an Axie Select account. We do have some restrictions on what we'll copy to the allocation account, though. So, but even that, in terms of offerings, if you want to look at it from a prop perspective, our offering is pretty vast in terms of what you can trade, and it should be, because ultimately it's a trading account. We don't have restrictions. We allow that flexibility. So um, we're not looking to increase that, but we have all the Axie products available to us.
Yeah. Um, okay. Next question. Bit of a different tack, but you've been doing this now for I think a bit over 2 years, as mentioned. Um, it really feels like definitely the wider prop industry is so sort of crazy. There's always this mad stuff happening. It does seem to have, I would say, like calmed down a bit in the past 6 months. It really, to me anyway, feels like I don't know if it's a sort of balance sheet thing or it's sort of similar to any other industry where you see consolidation. There's still definitely new players coming to market, but it just feels like it's becoming a bit more established. I guess. I mean, do you think that's a fair comment, first of all? And secondly, I suppose there's sort of like any thoughts on where you think the industry is headed, any sort of big trends or things that you think will influence the prop space in the I don't know in the next six.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost been quite calm and we have seen consolidation. But what worries me is it's been almost a race to the bottom in terms of pricing, in terms of what the offerings are. We saw that in the broker space right now with the spreads the way they are. It's crazy to think what the spreads are now to what they were 5, 6 years ago, and it seems to be even a race to raw. And what we see in the prop firm space is quite similar. If you go back a couple of years, you never had buy one get one free, or pass a challenge, get your registration fees back. So the time limit's been removed. So we are starting to see almost the margins being reduced. And naturally, when that happens, you get the sort of smaller firms kind of being squeezed out a little bit. And although we haven't had any major news recently, it certainly feels like it is a little bit more difficult, should I say, or it wasn't as before the MFF news in 2023. It was just a lot of money being made around the board, and there was sort of a big influx, which we haven't really seen. But we have seen some sophistication in terms of the larger firms as well. Risk management become an important feature, which is sort of what's changed. There are sort of firms even offering the ability to help you with the risk management, as naturally the flow has got a bit more toxic. So risk management is certainly one thing that's become important. If you don't have a good risk management system, then unfortunately it's very difficult to sustain profits in this space right now. We mentioned the use of EAs. That is certainly, I know from an Axi or from a broker perspective, a Select perspective, has increased a lot. I think firms that offer EAs will certainly be seeing more of that. But yeah, regulation's another topic. Some of the big firms, there's a lot of talk about it within the space, whether it's going to be self-regulation coming first, but it certainly feels like the regulators are becoming more interested in prop trading, and that could certainly have an influence on where this goes going forward. I think we over the MetaQuote stuff for now. Quite a lot of firms lost the MetaQuote license. It does seem to be quiet on that side right now. But yeah, I do worry about so many firms offering the exact same model. There's very little difference in this space. It's all very much the same, and naturally, there is of course a market for this, but what new innovations actually happened in the last couple of years in the space from a client's perspective relative to what there is now? I mean, maybe the one step or two step to one step, or the instant funding, but it's still very much based on the similar amount. So personally, I'd like to see more favorable trading conditions. And I think that should be the next step, but we will see. Very, very dynamic space.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I think the pricing stuff is pretty stupid actually, because it's sort of like it's really a race to the bottom. I feel like it's probably a race to the bottom in the in the broker space as well. But I feel like in the broker space, there's more things you can do to sort of manage risk and make the business sustainable, even if you're offering very tight pricing. Um, okay, so again, slightly different question, but like if you're you've obviously got this sort of 2 years of track record now. You said you've got 5 people on the $1 million accounts. Um, Again, from my point of view, something I find interesting is really like who these people are, what their sort of strategies are. I mean, is there any sort of consistency on that front? Like, do you see quite a similar profile of person, and are their trading strategies quite similar, or is it just completely unexpected people and completely different trading strategies in each case?
So I should add as well, we got about 45, 46 at the $500,000 stage as well. So um, in terms of the $1 million traders, it's very different. Um, I've met two of them in person. We actually flew them to Sydney a little while back, and I am in constant contact, or regular contact, should I say, with the others. So I can't say I have got to know them, and I can say their trading styles are all totally different, completely different. I mean, even instruments traded, that's probably the most similar thing, I guess, that you'd say. Bitcoin, gold, and Nasdaq are sort of the most common amongst them. Probably not probably without doubt, gold is the common instrument amongst them. But some are manual, some are mechanical, some are short term, some are a bit longer term. And I think that's also testament to that the Edge Score, the program, works for traders of different ilks and different styles. that you can still get to the top stages. And that was one thing we got called out for quite early on. And when I see these sort of people reach stages from all different sides, it's pretty great to see, but completely different. In fact, I'm not going to go into the inner details, but there's one trader whose style still makes no sense to me. I'm thinking, how does this person make money the way they trade? I'm a trader, as you know, my background, and I look at this and I'm thinking, this doesn't make any sense. But consistently generates profit. So who am I to say any otherwise when I see results like that?
Yeah. On that point, though, so that's again something I suppose I find almost philosophically sort of interesting, right? Which is, it's almost like the difference between randomness and a sort of real, tangible logic to what's going on. Because I think a lot of trading is effectively what you would see in, I think, like the hedge fund space, something like a managed future strategy, right? And I think in that space, it's almost like you have people who spot arbitrage or some kind of inefficiency in the market, which they take advantage of, or you have people who are doing something kind of similar to like an EA. It's sort of systematic. You don't, but it's almost a bit of like a black box of how it works. And I feel like most trading at brokers really fits into the latter part. Um, I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
No,
Firstly,
no,
you can tell me if I'm wrong,
no, I
but
agree.
secondly, that the thing I find interesting about that, right, is if you're in Axi's position, like how do you evaluate that person, right? How do you know this person is actually they have some kind of logic to what they're doing? They can be profitable consistently versus they just have some sort of lucky. Yeah, it's just like a million people flipping a coin, and out of that, one person ends up flipping heads 100 times in a row. Um, like, how do you know they're not doing something random?
So this is why we believe our program can't be copied. It's because it's our edge score that we've created in-house, which is a score which judges traders' ability, and we back it so much so that we'll give you $1 million if we think you're a good trader based on it. So we get a score. We judge traders based on that score, and we put our money where our mouth is regarding that score. So we're confident if you have a score at 90 or above to be a pro trader, that you deserve to have access to that money. Now, it doesn't always work like that. There are many pro traders who blow up and lose money, and unfortunately, that hurts us as we lose money too. But overall, we're proud to say with our pro traders that and our scoring system that we're going to back you off the back of that, and that's the purpose of the program, David. And I think it's a real life trading program, and you just judged on merit. If you if your score isn't high enough, or then you're not going to get access to the large sums of money. Or if you're trading with excessive risk and throwing Hail Marys, it's going to affect your score, and you're not going to get through to the higher stages. So we're looking for real traders and traders who ultimately um, showcase their talents. And if they can do that and matches with our score, then we're happy to give you more sums of money. So that's completely down to our edge score. As terrifying as it can sound with large sums, uh, but also it's important to note that you can't get access to $200,000 on day one. You need to go through the stages. You need to showcase your performance through the stages. And by the time you get to that stage, you have had to place a significant amount of trade over a certain period of time. And, naturally, our scoring system would have, many trade and information to evaluate. So as a trader, you're not going to want to get to those higher stages, then start throwing Hail Marys. And it does happen. But to work hard to get access to such sums of money, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be making very good amount of money. So why change that? But not to say everyone believes in that message, and other all do. But uh, on the whole, no complaints with the way they are managing the larger sums of money.
Yeah. No, that's actually something I always find crazy is when you again like going to the prop expo and sort of chatting to there were sort of retail traders there, and you speak to some people and they'll I don't know it's almost like unless the evaluation is just gives them really fast money, then they're kind of like what's the point? But then I don't know, it just seems so obvious to me that if a company is doing that, they're probably not doing things properly. But
But again,
can
you got to ask
yeah,
yourself, and I don't want to go down this whole rabbit hole, but realistically, if companies are making a lot of money and the way they're making money is from registration fees, it's obviously
yeah,
not that difficult. It's obviously not that easy to pass. Uh,
yeah,
and for me, I just find those restrictions on trading, it's not really trading. When you say you can't trade on news, you can't hold over the weekend, you've got a daily drawdown limit. How, again, I just want to focus on daily drawdown limit because for me, that's very hardly spoken about in this space. Yeah.
yeah,
Can you imagine getting slippage, which you get on certain accounts, and you lose everything? How, as a trader, can you confidently leave large sums of money or grow money or actually trade? What you're naturally going to do is keep withdrawing money, keep withdrawing profits. You're not really a trade. You're not really looking to trade and build a career and build your book. You and naturally you wouldn't feel comfortable. Also with the size of a lot of these firms, what if something happens and I lose that money? So I think we're creating this sort of get rich fast scheme, but take money and get out quickly as well. And then you blow up after that and you move to the next firm and to the next firm. So again, there's a market for it. I got no issue with it at all. But for me, it's not conducive to long-term trading.
yeah. Okay, well, maybe you already just answered this question, but to finish off, if someone is a trader and they're thinking of signing up to some kind of funded trading program, whether that's Axi Select or another one, what's the sort of main piece of advice you'd give to them if you want to succeed by signing up to one of these companies?
So the problem that we have in this space is people look at two things. They look at what is the registration fee and what sum of three things. What sum of money will you give me and what percentage return? So what's the registration fee? How much money size account can I get to trade? And what percentage of the profits can I keep? Now, the problem with that is the rules. I would tell anybody who's looking at them is have a look at the rules. Because if you can't trade on news, and you might not know there is news, right? You might not know when news is. You trade, you get a hard breach, you out. There might be some random news event, and then the company goes, well, actually, you traded around that news event. You can't. You know, would you get a hard breach email in that case? In some instances, you can. And the more money you have, you're at higher risk. So for me, it's super important to look at those rules. Daily drawdown limit is a red flag. Trading over news, not holding positions over weekends, high watermark levels. Um, it makes it very difficult to make money. It doesn't matter. David, I can say you can have a $5 million account and keep 100% of the profits. But if I put all these rules in place, it's going to make it very, very difficult. So to me, traders should be looking at, and if you want to even stick to the traditional model, is which one has the least rules in terms of trading is more important than the extra little bit of percentage here or there, because it makes trading difficult as it is. When you got all these rules in place, it becomes even harder, and it's not what this should be about. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Keep well.